Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. The latest Roy Morgan poll shows primary support increasing for the ALP, up 2% to 30.5%, and for One Nation, up 2% to 22.5%. And for the first time, One Nation is ahead of the Liberal Party. They're down 2% to 20%. Now, support for the Greens was also down 0.5% to 13%, and independents and other parties were down 1% to 14%. That includes former coalition partner, the Nationals, on 2.5%. So on a two-party preferred basis, the ALP increased 3% to 56.5%, a large lead over the Liberal National Coalition on 43.5% if the parties were to reunite. The increased lead for the ALP on a two-party preferred terms is due to both the increase in the ALP primary support as well as a fall in support for Liberals. If a federal election were held now, the ALP would be easily returned to government. Support for One Nation is highest in New South Wales at 29% and Queensland at almost the same, 28.5%, and ahead of the coalition on primary vote in both of these key states. The latest Roy Morgan poll was surveyed with a representative cross-section of 1,653 Australians from Monday, January 19 to Sunday, January 25. A majority, 56.5%, now say the country is going in the wrong direction. Only 29.5% of Australians say the country is going in the right direction. This means the Roy Morgan government confidence rating is unchanged this week at 73. In positive news, ANZ Roy Morgan consumer confidence increased 4.7 points to 84 in late January. Driving the increase was increasing confidence about people's personal financial situations and some strong results in both Queensland and New South Wales as these states emerged from really severe weather conditions just a week earlier. In terms of inflation, ANZ Roy Morgan inflation expectations eased 0.2%, but still at 5.4%. This means Australians expect inflation of 5.4% in each of the next 2 years. The latest Roy Morgan estimates show mortgage stress down in December by 0.2%. Now 24.5% of Australians with a mortgage, that's almost 1 in 4, are at risk of mortgage stress. That's an estimated 1.19 million Australians. Mortgage stress has proven really sensitive to interest rate decisions and has now declined by 3.4% following the Reserve Bank's decision to cut interest rates in August. This is the lowest level of mortgage stress for 3 years, since January 2023. However, recent indications are that there'll be no more interest rate cuts, and the higher inflation and inflation expectations recently suggest there's a growing possibility that the Reserve Bank might raise interest rates, perhaps as soon as next week. And now to some new data on solar energy systems. That includes solar hot water systems, solar heated swimming pools, and rooftop solar panels with or without battery systems. So around 32% of Australian households now have some form of solar energy system, and that includes 27% of households with rooftop solar panels. New data from Roy Morgan shows the take-up of solar panels increases the likelihood of consumers switching their electricity service provider. Importantly, recent solar energy converts are more likely to have switched their energy service provider than the average household, and they're more likely to be considering switching in the next 12 months. This correlation might be due to consumers with solar energy systems searching for the best solar energy buyback rate, otherwise known as feed-in tariffs. This is just one of the interesting changes emerging from the Roy Morgan in-depth research program on energy utilities, including electricity, gas, and the take-up of solar energy systems. To learn more, visit the Roy Morgan website. And finally today, Roy Morgan, in conjunction with the ARA, the Australian Retailers Association, showed Australians plan to spend an estimated $2.9 billion on back-to-school spending this year. That's up 200 million on just a year ago. 21% of Australians take part in back-to-school spending. That's equivalent to 4.5 million people. And the average spend is $573, up $48 on a year ago. Spending at the higher levels is increasing, with 44% set to spend more than $500, up from 35% just a year ago, including 22% of households spending more than $1,000 on back-to-school spending. The most popular spending items are school uniforms, 56% of households do that, stationery, 55%, footwear and shoes, 47%, books, 44%, and lunch boxes and food, 25%. Back-to-school purchasing remains heavily weighted to physical retail, with 60% of shoppers planning to buy in-store, compared with 39% online. Now, looking forward to next week, I'll be back to bring you the latest data for consumer confidence, inflation expectations, and we'll be looking at New Zealand voting intentions. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.